Yeah. Adjust your focus. Turn the volume up. Welcome to the Locked In Podcast, coming to you live from Greater Philadelphia. Let's get into it. Yeah. Outside world is noisy. Constant chatter on the line. We tune out all the static just to focus on the grind. Deep dives, real talk, no holding back today. We're cutting through the clutter, got a lot we need to say. From the hustle to the vision, every story, every angle. Untangling the threads that everybody tries to mangle. Cause when the lights go up and the mic is on, we're locked in. All day long, no distractions now. We're steady in the zone. You're tuned into the frequency you claim is your own. Yeah, welcome to the moment where the real work's done. The Locked In Podcast, number one. Yeah, number one. Yeah, the Locked In Podcast, number one. Bring your mind to the table, drop your doubts at the door. We're chasing after insights that you haven't heard before. Every episode a lesson, every guest a brand new spark. Light a fire in the conversation, shining in the dark. So settle in, tap in, let the energy flow. It's time to take control and start the show. Cause when the lights go up and the mic is on, we're locked in. All day long, no distractions now. We're steady in the zone. You're tuned into the frequency you claim is your own. Yeah, welcome to the moment where the real work's done. The Locked In Podcast, number one. No distractions now. We're steady in the zone. You're tuned into the frequency you claim is your own. Yeah, welcome to the moment where the real work's done. The Locked In Podcast, number one. Yeah, number one. Yeah, the Locked In Podcast, number one. Locked in. Stay focused. Let's get into it. Yeah. Yeah. No distractions now. We're steady in the zone. You're tuned into the frequency you claim is your own. Yeah, welcome to the moment where the real work's done. The Locked In Podcast, number one. Yeah, number one. Yeah, Locked In Podcast, number one. No distractions now. We're steady in the zone. You're tuned into the frequency you claim is your own. Yeah, welcome to the moment where the real work's done. The Locked In Podcast, number one. Yeah, number one. Yeah, the Locked In Podcast, number one.
Yeah, locked in.
Night vision on, I see the path now. Blocking all the noise until the bag's loud. I'm locked in, focus on the grind. Yeah, locked in, leave the world behind. Got that tunnel vision on my mind. Till the morning light.
Man, that beat hits every single time. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Locked In Podcast, episode 262. Locked In Nation, what is going on? Pleasure to be rocking with you on the mic tonight as we hop into this topic, and I'm excited about this one. I think it's a really, really dope topic, and I have to say I got the inspiration from my friend Nate Evans Jr., who preaches this a lot in his seminars, a lot of what he teaches as life coaching. Heal the man, heal the family. That's the concept tonight. And how personal restoration is great for the household. This is where it starts. It starts with the man healing. And we're going to talk about this tonight. I think it is so important. There are a lot of men that really do not know they don't have the roadmap to really go about this personal restoration. A lot of men suppress, they push things down, and a lot of times that ends in a lot of unhealthy relationships. It ends up in a lot of unhealthy marriages that inevitably lead to divorce. So we're going to talk about this tonight, and I am just solo on the mic tonight, and this is okay. This was an episode that I got some feedback from outside panelists on the outside for this one. Next week is going to be definitely a shift because we have another after hours series coming, and I'm really excited about the concept that we have for this one next week. But we're going to stay focused on this one. But I just want to let you guys know that episode 263 will be a 9 p.m. episode. It's the slot that we have scheduled. As many of you know, those after hours episodes have a history of being postponed. They have a history of a lot of people canceling. What I'm ultimately working on is the guests that I do have confirmed. I'm working on trying to have slots filled behind them. So God forbid there is cancellations that happen. I can kind of fill that because I don't like to postpone these episodes. But as you know, coordinating a bunch of people to do something outside of their own busy lives is difficult sometimes. So I try not to do the postponement stuff. I try to get people that are going to stick to their word when they say they're going to come on the show. It's important that we do stick to our word. Emergencies do happen as well. I'm lenient with that. But at the same time, we want to try to stick to what we say, right? So we want to lead with integrity. We want to move with integrity. We want to move with accountability, and that's important. So this is what we're talking about here tonight. Heal the man, heal the family. It all starts internally. So we're going to walk through the roadmap of self-regulation, different types of things that come with this. And I'll give you guys a little bit of notes that I have, not just from myself, but from a couple people that were outside the podcast too, that I had the pleasure of speaking with yesterday. So, as you guys know, if you are watching on YouTube and you're not already subscribed, make sure you hit that notification bell to turn those notifications on. Actually, give me 1 second, guys. I don't think Instagram is up. I want to make sure that this is something that is up. So, bear with me for a second, guys. I don't want to be unprofessional here, with the doing this on the live, but this is we usually don't do Instagram a lot of it is Facebook and YouTube, but I have been working to get this up on here. Let's see, let me get the title. One second, guys. Get this real quick. Let's edit the stream. Let's lock YouTube into here, or Instagram, sorry. Let's lock this in. No pun intended. So I'm going to get this. Bang, 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 bang. All right. Looks like we're on Instagram now, too. I'm going to pull this to the side here. I don't know if I can see Instagram as the comments come through, but we'll see. All right, so like I said, so now we have Instagram. It appears up and running, but just want to tell you guys, this is a topic that is near and dear to me. It's a topic that I just think is important. We have to set the wave as the next generation, right? We have to set that wave. We have to set that precedent. It starts internally, and a lot of us don't have. We come from all different types of backgrounds, right? We don't get to choose our circumstances. We don't get to choose where we come from, but it is our responsibility to heal. It is our responsibility of how do we handle the trauma that we were dealt growing up. So remember, this is important here. Average is the enemy. Success is your responsibility. And change, it can happen quicker than you really think if you really lock in and put the work in. So success is going to be your responsibility. Healing is your responsibility. Yeah, you didn't choose your circumstances, but we have to take accountability, and we have to be able to navigate and heal on our own. You can have resources, you can have community, but we have to start with the decision to do that. So what we're going the sub theme daily self-regulation, replacing those survival tactics that a lot of us are dealing with on a regular basis, leading with integrity. That's what I said. I preached it right from the start, leading with integrity. And I have some notes of my own, and I have some notes that I can share with you from people that I spoke to. So men and women. Candace is always great with getting us things. I always get to talk to James, which is a blessing. Some of the people that have come on this podcast, but always great. So guys, like I was saying, if you're watching on YouTube and you're not already subscribed, you already know what to do. Hit that notification button to turn those notifications on. But most importantly, before you even do that, hit that subscribe button and subscribe to this channel, especially if you like content related to personal growth. We're a Christian-based podcast in the Philadelphia area, but we have guests that watch not just in the tri-state, but West Coast and beyond. So, guys, if you like this type of content, hit the subscribe button. You're not going to regret that. Like I said, the notification bell in the corner, hit that, turn it on. We go live every Thursday typically. So if we go live, you don't want to miss it. You'll get notified. If you're watching on Facebook, I'm assuming you're already part of the community. So thank you for that. Still hit that like button. Like button on YouTube, Facebook really helps us out with the algorithm, puts up that content for people who need to see this. So that really, really helps us out. Please hit the like button, share whatever you got to do. And then if you want to comment in YouTube, I can see your comments right here. I can throw them on the screen. Facebook, due to meta privacy concerns, I have to read them out loud. I can't put them up here on the screen. Instagram, I'm assuming, is probably similar, so I have to read them out loud. But that's okay. I'll still always get to your comments before the stream ends. So chime into the conversation. So I'm not over here always talking to myself. It's nice to engage with you guys. I always appreciate the support. Most importantly, just let's lock in. Let's have a good discussion tonight. All right. So heal the man, heal the family. What I'm going to start with here is the daily self-regulation. I think that's so important. The concept here, a man cannot lead a home in peace. He can't lead a home in peace if his internal state is in constant chaos. Self-regulation moves a man from being reactive, defensive, quick to anger, emotionally closed off, to grounded and present. And this is where I say that if you are in an internal state of chaos, you got a lot of different things going on, which most men do. If you're a purpose-driven man, you're out here providing for your family, you're trying to grow your life, you're trying to build better circumstances for your wife, your girlfriend, your daughter, your son, your children, your family, your community, your friends, whatever it is. Whoever the purpose is behind it, most men are out here trying to build a better life for not only themselves, but they most of the time they have people around them. And even if you're a single man and you don't have really a lot of people in your life, most men are trying to better themselves. I firmly believe that. So if you're out here and you're trying to better yourself, your life can have a lot of chaos in it. I don't know about you, but I do get overwhelmed and I get stressed that there just aren't enough hours in the day. I feel like a lot of times I'm running against the clock and I'm losing because there's so many different things that I want to accomplish. I have a Guys, first and foremost, want to apologize. My Wi-Fi just kicked out. Super random. You reset your system, you do all the right things, and see, I'm telling you, I don't think the enemy wants us to talk about these things. I firmly believe it. You know, not anybody else on here. That means it leaves nobody else in the studio. So luckily the stream did not cut, but man, my Wi-Fi just tripped. It never happens. Just decided to trip. There we go. So now we gotta, we keep plugging now, right? We don't let that stop us. We keep moving. We keep plugging. Guys, I'm telling you, the enemy doesn't want you to talk about these things. But a lot of men, as I was going back to my point there, was a lot of men are dealing with things internally that they just don't have the skills to discuss. They weren't taught how to communicate these things. They weren't taught how to self-regulate. They were just taught to be a provider. They were taught to be a protector and all these things. And they don't know how to, in a healthy way, self-regulate. And it's a lot of chaos that goes on internally if you don't know how to self-regulate. I know that, you know, like I said, a majority of us, we have a lot of different things going on, but you have to self-regulate. You have to heal. You know, like I said, that's going to allow you to stay more present and grounded in your family, in the connections around you. It's really going to allow you to be fully present. And when you're fully present and you're grounded, your children feel more safe with you. Your wife is going to feel more safe, your girlfriend, your family members, your friends. Honestly, like, how annoying is it? I'll even say from a friendship perspective, or say you're in a relationship, right? A friendship, a relationship, whatever it is, and you're spending time with this person one-on-one, and they're completely emotionally disconnected. They're disconnected. You can tell they're not present, right? It feels frustrating because they're not there with you. They're in the room physically, but they're not there emotionally. So when you're dealing with someone like that, it can be frustrating. This is why I think a lot of marriages fail. They struggle. Communication is a big issue. Learning how to self-regulate. It's up there with financial stress. You know, financial stress is one of the top ones, but you know, not being able to communicate. I've literally seen it. I've seen it from people I know, friends. I've seen their marriages dissolve over communication issues. Not being able to speak, not being able to talk about things, not wanting to discuss things. Their wife is trying to grab their hand and talk, and they don't want to talk because it's uncomfortable. It's something that's very uncomfortable. And I was someone like that, you know. I could talk. I could hear my partner's issues a lot of times, right? I could hear what she was going through, and I could be a support and be all those things. But I struggled to kind of be openly vulnerable myself when I look back. And I was like, why was that? This person is struggling to be vulnerable, but they're being vulnerable with me, but I'm not being fully present. I'm not being fully vulnerable. I'm keeping things more surface level. And you know what that is? It's a protectiveness and it's a guardedness. A lot of times we don't want to be seen that way. We don't want to, it triggers something to be seen deeply. But that's what I said. Like you have to be able to be vulnerable, but you also have to be able to self-regulate. So the key takeaway that I want you to go from the self-regulation point of it is emotional control isn't emotional suppression. There is a huge difference. Being able to control your emotions is healthy. You want to be able to control your emotions. I was just talking to somebody the other day, and I hear this from so many women actually, about how one of the most frustrating things in men they've dated or whatever has happened is, or one of the most scary things is dealing with a man who has road rage. And a lot of men, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I was someone that had road rage for a long time when I'd be out there driving. And when I look back on it, what was it really? It was ego. It was ego. You know, you feel offended. And I sometimes I still, it's not healthy. I stand on the, like, hey, sometimes you think people deserve. We're really not supposed to let somebody else dictate our emotions. When you lose control, you let other people. Road rage is a good example. You're driving on the road and maybe you're having a great day so far. Somebody goes to cut you off. Somebody honks their horn at you. Someone, whatever it is, they tail you. And now here you are trying to compete with this person. You're trying to, especially as a man, you're trying to prove bravado, whatever it is. You're trying to soothe your ego. That's ultimately what it comes down to. I think one of the most amazing things is when you don't allow people to affect you. It feels so good because it's just like, who am I in competition with? Like, why am I letting this random stranger do this to me? And at the same time, you really don't know what someone else is going through. I'm not saying driving crazy on the road is okay. I think it's a really selfish move. I think that it could put other people in danger, right? A lot of times, but you just genuinely, you don't know what other people are going through. So let me go to emotional control. Emotional control, that's a good thing. You want to be able to control your emotions. You want to be able, especially as a man, be able to be a rock for your family that they can lean on. But emotional suppression is different. It means that emotional control, you can express your emotions, but you know when to be in control of your emotions. Whereas suppression is different. Suppression means you struggle to be vulnerable. You usually push things down. If something's hurting you or something's upsetting you, you don't speak on it because you're like, that's not what a man's supposed to do. A man's just supposed to keep it moving, not let his family see this, not do this. And like I always say on this podcast too, there's a fine line between stoicism and complete emotional shutdown. You know, stoicism, a lot of people confuse that. Stoicism is a good thing. It's about emotional control. It's about a man who can control his emotions, who can stay stout in those times, but at the same time isn't afraid to express vulnerability with people that he trusts. There is a difference. And I think a lot of women I know get that confused with stoicism. I will tell you that. Stoicism, I have found, is a very, very positive thing for men. For a man to be able to be stoic, but a lot of men too, they confuse what stoicism is. It's not complete stonewall, no emotions, shit, like armor, rock solid all the time. Like that's not stoicism. It's a completely confused definition. That's not stoicism. So that's what I wanted to take away. Emotional control is not emotional suppression. Regulating yourself, what it means is recognizing stress triggers in real time so that you respond with clarity instead of reaching out of fatigue, or overwhelm. That's what you don't want. And a lot of men struggle with that. Myself included, I have as well. And I can only imagine my brothers that have many kids and they're, married. It's a lot that goes with it. I firmly believe that this is why it's important to also, the partner that you pick is very important. This is why I think you do all the work up front, because marriage is going to have bumps. It's going to have a lot of them, to be honest. And there are going to be seasons where you are both in love with each other. Everything's going so well. And there's going to be seasons you both just hate each other or things get boring. Well, and be able to come back to each other is so important. And this is why I would always say premarital counseling, I think, is one of the best things you guys can do, to be honest. Like I said, I will never try to speak as if I've been married, because I have not. Obviously that's what God has on my vision, what I want. I know the type of woman that I'm looking for. I know all the type of things, but at the same time, I'm not married right now, right? I'm not married. I don't have kids right now. So I don't try to put myself into the shoes of people who have. But what I will tell you is the people that I do know that do, it's a lot of overwhelm for a lot of men out there. Like I said, emotional control is different than emotional suppression. But a lot of men, if you don't know how to self-regulate, you were never taught this, it is a struggle. A lot of men wind up suppressing. They wind up suppressing their true thoughts, feelings, and that's what they're taught. That's what they're taught from an early age. But like I said, you have to be able to self-regulate, and healing the family, right? It starts with healing the man, but it starts internally. It's not the external stuff. It's the internal stuff. This is so important. So I wish I knew this when I was younger, because I wasn't taught it. I'm going to be honest with you. I wasn't taught it. I kind of had to learn from mentors and people around me. Love my pops, love my father. I have a really close relationship with him now that I'm older, but he's always been in my life. He's always been here. But what I will say is definitely did not really learn how to self-regulate from him as much as I love him. I never really learned how to self-regulate, and I know that how important that is now. If literally it's, you have to self-regulate, just let alone for yourself. But if you have people that are relying on you, you have a wife, you have kids, you have a community, if you're a life coach, you got a business, you have clients, you have friends, you have family, maybe that you're taking care of. You have people that are also relying on you too. And to be honest, most people do have, they're usually, if you have a high level of responsibility, there are people relying on you in life, even if you aren't married and have kids, to be honest. Like, even if you're in business or you have a business or you're working in your career, you are responsible for your own self-regulation. Like I said, you don't choose your circumstances, but you are responsible for how you respond. You are responsible for your healing, right? So that's so important. It really, really is. You have to be able to take responsibility for that. Like I said, average is the enemy. Success is your responsibility, and so is healing. And change can happen quicker than you really think it can. So, like I said, that overwhelm is crazy. So let me ask you guys this, men and women, whoever, anybody who's watching out there. This is for both of you guys, because I wanted to get some women's perspective too. I had the pleasure of talking to Candace yesterday. I got her perspective as a woman who's got 2 kids, and I talked to some of my brothers. I always want to try to get both sides of this because it's important. So for men out there, what is a daily practice or a ritual that helps you reset when you feel your stress level rising and you walk through the door at home? I don't care if you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, I can literally read your comment on the screen. YouTube, I can put it up on the screen. And then women, from a partner's perspective, how can you tell when a man is truly self-regulating versus suppressing his emotions? How can you tell the difference there? And how can you be a support to help him, come to a point where he can self-regulate? Because sometimes men don't feel truly comfortable. Like I said, us as men, we're responsible for our own self-regulation, but having a supportive partner who can open us up sometimes, just as men soften their women, right? A woman that can be loving, understanding, not throw things back in a man's face. I think that's another thing, is a lot of men have had issues with women keeping score, and then throwing those things back in their face in an argument is completely unhealthy. And that shouldn't happen either way, men or women. Like, that does not make a partner feel safe in any way. But how can you tell emotional suppression versus truly self-regulating in men? What is a daily practice ritual that helps you reset when you feel your stress level rise and when you walk through your door at home, right? So we should have some of those. And I'm just going to leave that with you guys, right? I'm going to leave that. I'm not even going to answer that one for you guys because I feel like a lot of weeks I do. I'm going to leave that one. I want you guys to think about it. And even if you don't comment it in tonight, for men or women, take some time to reflect on that. I could put these on the screen too if you guys are interested. And if you're in the audience out there too, drop a 1 in the chat if you've ever projected a bad day of work onto a family member, a partner, a friend, your kids, whatever it is. I know I have. I know I have. What's one boundary that you set to now to prevent that? What's one boundary that you can set? Because that's important too. I think the boundary that I would say you could set is you need to just remember that anything that's going on internally inside of you, it's never, I don't care how bad everything that you're going through, it's never fair to someone else to take that out on them, right? Like, you could have a million different things going on, and at the end of the day, maybe it's where you're supposed to be in the moment. I know you don't want to hear that when you're going through something frustrated, but maybe there's a reason that God's putting you through certain things. And like I said, it's easy to say that in hindsight. It's easy to say it when you're not going through it. But when you're going through it, that's when it's tough. You'd be like, well, fuck, I don't want to hear that. I don't care. Like, I'm frustrated. I'm mad. I'm going through a lot of shit today. Everything, my day hasn't gone the way I wanted it to go. And I empathize. I understand, but this is where true mastery of self-regulation comes in. To always remind yourself that maybe you're supposed to be where you're supposed to be right now. Maybe your plans weren't meant to happen today the way you wanted them to happen. And at the same time, it's never someone else's responsibility for your self-regulation. So it's not nobody else should be your punching bag because of what you're going through. And look, everybody slips. I'm going to be honest. You should really, really work on not slipping because it's not healthy. But like if you do slip, and these things happen at times, in terms of like you losing your cool and taking it out on other people, it takes time sometimes. And if you do slip, just sit down and apologize. Take responsibility, talk to them, apologize, once you cool down. Because nobody's perfect. We're not God, we're not Jesus. At the end of the day, there's going to be slip-ups. But that's what I'll tell you, is to take time to really apologize and really acknowledge that. All right, so I went through theme 1, which was self-regulation. We talked a lot about that. I want to move into theme 2 here, which is the survival tactic portion of this podcast. So replacing the survival tactics with healthy coping mechanisms, which I think is so important. I think it's so important. A lot of times we're in survival mode, men or women. I've seen this on both sides, but we're talking about healing the man here tonight. So this is what This is what I'm going to be talking about. So the core concept for this theme that I have for you guys is many men carry defensive mechanisms into their adult relationships that were built to survive childhood, past trauma, early financial hardship, hyper independence, emotional detachment. There's all different types of things that go into this. So what I mean by this is, let me rephrase it. Many men carry defensive mechanisms into their adult relationships that were built to survive childhood, past trauma, or early financial hardship. They've seen this as children, and they bring these defensive mechanisms because of that trauma into their adult relationships. Could be with their girlfriend, their wife, their children, friends, family, community, clients, whatever. These things can be hyper independence, right? Putting the armor on because you feel like you can't trust anybody else, which is not healthy. Again, when I was younger, also like this happened at work. Didn't trust anybody else to do your job, right? Used to say, if you want to get a job done, right, do it yourself, right? So I used to not trust people at work. I used to not fully trust friends. I would somewhat, but I was masking in different ways, right? There were certain things that I would not trust friends with. Relationships as well. You could get close, but not too close, right? Like hyper independence. That's a serious thing. Like it's hard for you to ask for help. That's one of them. Emotional detachment is a big one for a lot of people. Aggressive conflict styles. Stonewalling. It's a big one too. I've dealt with that. Friends, relationships, different types of ways, and realizing that it had nothing to do with me. It was their own wounds and different things that they had to heal from. You having wounds to heal from doesn't make you a bad person. Let me be very, very clear about that. It doesn't make you a bad person, even in adulthood, if you haven't healed them yet. I don't care if you're in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, your 60s. If you're still spending time to heal, like I said, sometimes self-awareness is the biggest part of this, is the biggest component. Some people go their whole life without self-awareness. They don't ever obtain it. And if you never obtain it, that's one of the saddest things, is you go to the grave with that. Like I said, you're not responsible for like your circumstances that you grew up in, but you are responsible for how you tackle this. How do you conquer this? How do we heal, right? Like I said, from the man's perspective, it all starts with us healing it. And we help heal the family. I think we know children need their fathers. They need their fathers. Their sons need their fathers. Little girls need their fathers. And it's not, and also, a lot of relationships that don't work out, right? The mother, majority of the time that I've ever seen, right? I personally know some dads that are single dads, and they do take on the majority of the custody. But I'm gonna be honest, majority of the time, what do we typically see? We usually see the woman has the majority of the custody. So if the men can heal, right? Like we can heal as the leaders of the household. A lot of times it's a trickle down effect. We help heal a lot. We help heal our spouse. We help heal our family. All these things kind of start with us, but this is the thing. There will be a lot less absent fathers or very, very part-time fathers if men were to take the time to heal. And like I said, this isn't me expunging women from healing and handling those other things, because that's not what I'm doing. Women are also y'all women out there are watching, y'all are also responsible for your own healing. It's not up to a man to heal you. It is up for you to heal them. I always say this: support and fixing someone's trauma are two different things. It is up to you to fix the trauma, but a supportive partner goes a long way. So men or women. But like I said, if a lot of men were able to heal these things before they entered into a relationship and then, God forbid, get married or have children with that woman, there will be a lot less absent fathers. Kids need their fathers. There'll be a lot less broken women, right? And like I said, men always want to be leaders, but they don't want to take on the leadership role when it comes to certain things of how they act or how this. It's like you can't be a true man if you're not taking accountability. You're not taking accountability for the issues that you cause, the different things. You have to take accountability. You have to. You can't call yourself a true man if you're not taking accountability. All right, so like I said, I went through the core concept there. The key takeaway that I want you to take from this is so let me ask you this too. What kept you safe in survival mode will ultimately sabotage you in build mode. So if you're in the build mode of your life, you're building your finances, you're building your purpose, maybe you're building a business right now. Maybe you're building a church outreach group. Maybe whatever you're building, whatever it is, maybe you're building your body in the gym. Maybe you're strengthening your faith with God. Maybe you're strengthening the friendships around you. You're building community. You have a million different things that you could be building right now. But if whatever build mode you are in your life, what kept you safe in survival mode, if you keep holding on to those same coping mechanisms that kept you safe in survival mode, it is really going to sabotage you in that next level of build mode. Someone that I can literally speak on this myself, right? Like there's different things, coping mechanisms that I had in different areas of my life. And now, like where I'm at, like in this whole build mode of my life and growing, I have found myself navigating this, having to battle these different mechanisms that are trying, like, I feel like sometimes it's like we're sabotaging ourselves. We really, really are. And we have to be aware of these things, right? We have to be aware of them. And we have to be able to fight these things. We have to be able to heal these things. And there's a lot of different ways you can do that. But like I said, if you're bringing those coping mechanisms into the build phase of your life, be prepared for a lot of sabotage. And you're going to be very frustrated. You have to take time to heal internally first. Don't bring these things into this phase of your life. Don't do it because it's going to sabotage you. True healing requires you auditing. True healing requires auditing which coping strategies are actively damaging your household. So what coping strategies are the ones that you are dealing with? It's different for everybody. Like I said, if we go back to it, hyper independence is one for some people. They're very much, I can't trust anybody. Emotional detachment is another one. That kind of goes with hyper independence, if I'm being honest. If you have an anxious attachment style, maybe you have abandonment wounds. Now you're overly reliant on your partner for your own regulation, your own internal self-regulation. You're relying on your partner for that. And that puts a lot of pressure on your partner, right? A secure, healthy person can self-regulate themselves, but at the same time, like not so independent that they can't talk to their partner. This is why there needs to be a solid balance. Like a securely attached person, and I'll go from a man's perspective here. Securely attached man is going to be a man that can vocalize when there's certain things that are hurting him or upsetting him, that like, or crossing a boundary. He can speak up on them. Maybe he's got a lot of different chaos going on in his world. He can talk to his wife. He can talk to his kids. He can talk to his trusted friends or family or whatever. But at the same time, he can do that. But at the same time, he has the ability to self-regulate himself. He has the ability to take charge and be able to do that, right? And also, like I said, that's why I said a lot of people confuse stoicism, but I think stoicism is a great thing. Stoicism is not emotional detachment or suppression. It's emotional control. Being able to control your emotions, being able to be stout, being able to be that rock that your family needs. But at the same time, being able to vocalize, right? Being able to be vulnerable, being able to talk. Communication is so important. I feel like so many issues can just be solved if we sit down and have a conversation. Seriously. But a lot of people are afraid to have those direct conversations. But this is what I want you to do. I want you to audit what coping mechanisms are actively damaging your household. If you're in a household right now, you're in a marriage, and it's struggling. Like I said, I don't ever try to speak as a married man or a father because I don't have kids right now. I'm not married. I know a lot of people that are. I have close friends that are. I have mentors that are, family members. and I can talk to them about different things. But like I said, I will never try to put myself in the shoes. But let me ask you, if your household is struggling right now, I want you to really take this as an honest challenge. I want you to write out and really think about this. Audit the coping strategies that you believe are really damaging your household. And you can Google and find all different types of coping strategies, and you might be able to resonate with some of them. But that's where it starts, really figuring that part out. You want to figure that part out, and then you can move forward. So let me ask the panel questions here before we go into theme 3 here for tonight, guys. And theme 3 is going to be the final theme as we wrap. And then we'll have some outro and stuff like that. So for men, let me ask you fellas, what is one survival mechanism that you had to unlearn or trade in once you realized it was causing friction in your personal relationships? So what is one survival mechanism or coping mechanism that you had to unlearn once you realized it was causing friction in your personal relationships? Maybe you're going to discover some tonight or tomorrow or whatever, whenever you watch this episode, if you do this audit intentionally. And for women, how can a partner support a man who is actively trying to shed old survival habits without enabling the negative behavior? See, that's a tricky one, right? How do you hold your men to a standard, but at the same time, being able to be a listening ear, being able to be a supportive partner? Here's the one thing I will say is a lot of men, we like to throw this concept that the man is the rock. I know a lot of men who have no problem. Like they're of course they're the rock, they're the provider, they do all the things for their family, but they have no problem saying that their wife is the rock, that the emotional support that holds them up through tough times. That's okay. Like that's a good thing. So ladies, how can you support your man as he's shedding these things, and at the same time not allow him to not enable his negative behavior too, right? Because sometimes people do see how much they can get away with. You don't want to enable the behavior. You want to be able to set a standard, set boundaries as well. So how can you do that? And just to the general audience out there, general to all you guys, what's one habit that you used to think was that's just how you are? That you eventually realized just an old survival tactic. I'm going to tell you right now, I've had friends and family members that have said this, and I've been in relationships with someone. It's like, I've been in relationships with women who have said, that's how I am. At the end of the day, we expect people to love our flaws, right? This is an important conversation. We expect people to love our flaws, right? Like take our flaws. You should love all of me, the good and the flaws and my strengths and my weaknesses, flaws and all. Yeah, there's a difference between flaws and unhealthy coping mechanisms. I'm going to be honest. Nobody should tolerate unhealthy behavior. I think there's a difference. You have to really understand that flaws and unhealthy behavior are different things. And a person who has unhealthy behavior isn't a bad person, but what are they doing to work on it? What are they doing to heal those things? That's important. So I'll say from the man's perspective here tonight, ladies, if you see your man who has different unhealthy things, but he's working on them, be a support to him. But also hold boundaries. Don't let him, at the same time, don't enable the behavior. But if the man is not working on those things, you have to use your own judgment there and figure out how much is enough for you. If they're not changing, they're not working on changing or healing these things, then you have to use your own discernment in those areas. Theme 3. All right, ready? So I'm going to jump into this one here. This is the final one before we get to the outro here tonight. Leading with integrity in the household. So this kind of comes full circle. First, we talked about self-regulation, and then we talked about replacing survival tactics with healthy coping mechanisms. Now we want to say for the man, this is the final concept here, is leading with integrity inside the household. All right, so the core concept here is that leadership isn't about your title, your income, your authority. It's about consistency, alignment between your words and your actions, and creating psychological safety for everyone that's underneath of your roof. Everyone is in your circle, in your pack. How do you create that safety, right? These things are important, very important. That's why I'm going to stress them. Leadership is not dictatorship, too. Like that's a lot of the people, they think that a lot of men think, oh, it's me pointing fingers and you're gonna do whatever the hell I say. It's like, and that is different. Honestly, there's a lot of men that operate as dictators, and what I mean by that is they don't actually follow the things. They want to be respected a certain way, but they also don't carry themselves a certain way to be respected. So I always say true leadership is servant leadership, which is biblical. What I mean by that is men lead by action. So you sacrifice for your family, right? True love is sacrificial. If you lead by sacrifice, you lead by servant leadership. If you are aligned with your partner, women typically follow, right? They typically follow. So if your wife will typically follow your lead. If you're doing the things that you should be doing, you're sacrificially loving, you're doing all those things, your woman should lead. And if not, maybe she has internal things that she needs to heal too. So I'm going to say, like, true leadership is not a dictatorship. It's not about your title. It's not about your income. It's not about your authority. It's about the consistency, the alignment between your words and your actions. Like I said, what we say and what we do are two different things sometimes. You have to be truthful about what you're, if you say you're going to do something, do it. Follow through. Be consistent. Don't just say things and not do it. A wise man speaks so much, but an unwise man speaks a lot, but doesn't follow through with action. A wise man doesn't overspeak, but he shows up with consistency through action. So that's the thing. You want to make sure that your partner can trust you. So be a man of your word. Be a man of your word and make sure that your words and your actions align. That's a big one. To lead with integrity inside your household. And like I said, creating that psychological safety is so important too. So the key takeaway that I want you to take from this is that a restored man leads by example, admitting when he's wrong, making amends quickly, and upholding standards of accountability for himself first and foremost, and then follows through, and then the family can follow suit with that. So that's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. But there's a difference between an unhealed man and a healed man. But a healed man is going to lead by example. He's going to admit when he's wrong. He's not going to let it fester. He's going to make those amends quickly. He's going to be able to apologize for where he's wrong, and he's going to be able to uphold standards. He's going to be able to uphold boundaries and stay accountable. Like I said, a man with purpose, most men with purpose, they live a pretty predictable life in each season, right? Like they have a schedule that they keep, right? Like they have habits that they build on a consistent basis. And those habits definitely can change depending on the season or what your vision is or what your purpose is in that season. But most men, they build these things through habit. They have daily healthy habits that they're building, and they're able to grow, and they set the foundation. They set the foundation for the rest of the day of how they carry themselves, how they move. So I want to ask the panel some questions here, like I said, as I have through all these other themes here, right? So let me ask for both right here, men and women out there. How do you define true integrity in a modern relationship or family dynamic when life gets heavy? Let me ask you that again. How do you define true integrity in a modern relationship or a family dynamic when life gets heavy? So how do you define that? How do you define that true integrity when things get heavy? Because it's easy when things are going well. It's easy when things are going well. When things get tough, shit hits the fan. Now you're in the thick of it. Now it's tough sometimes to move with integrity, right? So that's true integrity, how you move in those types of situations. And let me specifically ask this one for the men out there. So fellas, why is it so hard for men to apologize and own up to mistakes at home? And how does breaking that habit change the culture of the household? So any of my fellas out there that are married, got kids, they're in a household, why is it so hard for us men in general to apologize and own up to mistakes in the household? And how does breaking the habit change the culture for the household? Like I said, this is the whole concept. Heal the man, heal the family. This is how we start breaking these cultural norms. You're not responsible for the trauma you are responsible to heal the trauma now. What I will tell you is you're not responsible for the circumstances you grew up with, but you are responsible for your healing. So audience, let me ask you in general here before we wrap up here tonight. What is the single most important quality a leader in the home must display to earn genuine respect? I think it is consistency. I think a leader leads with consistency. He stays true to his word. I firmly believe that. Got to get my electrolytes in there. I'll look through Facebook in a second and Instagram, guys, but to see see if there's any comments. But let me pull up right here, actually. Pull up here. So let me ask you that again. Let me go to the panel questions here. How do you define integrity in a modern relationship or family dynamic when life gets heavy? And for the fellas out there, why is it so hard for us men to apologize and own up to our mistakes at home? And how does breaking that habit change the culture of the household? How does it do that? And the general audience question I want to ask you guys out there is, what is the single most important quality that a leader must have in the home to display to earn genuine respect? And like I said, when it comes to this, I personally believe it's a man being consistent with his words and his actions. If you're not following through with your actions, I think it's relatively common sense that you start to not trust yourself. That's where it all starts. But if you don't trust yourself, how can those around you trust you? They really can't, right? Like I said, it takes time. So, guys, I want to give you guys, as I go through the outro here, the 3-second reset challenge. There's a challenge I want to leave you guys with today before we wrap up. Let me check Facebook though real quick before we end and get to the outro. Let me see. All right. So this is what I'm going to leave you with here tonight. The 3-second reset challenge. Before entering your home or engaging in a tough conversation this week, I want you to do something. I ask you, pause for 3 seconds. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, am I responding from my past trauma, or am I responding from the leader I want to be right now? And that's the difference. You probably have a vision of who you want to become, right? Even if you're doing really well right now, you're doing well financially, you're doing well with your health, you have a wife, you have kids, you have beautiful children, a beautiful wife, you have a nice house, you're strong in your faith, you're doing really well right now, right? We all still typically have a vision of more of what we want to be. And what I would tell you is, a lot of times, right, to be the man that you want to become, you're going to have to shed certain habits if you're not there yet. A lot of times when we look for a partner, we look for different things that we want, we have to ask ourselves that we may have all these stipulations. This is what I want in my life in terms of my career, my success, my finances, the woman that I want to marry. I want all these things. But would a man doing the things that you're doing today, be honest with yourself, get you to that level? What are the things that you're asking for in a wife and a woman? All these qualities do you want her to have? What type of man does she want? Because the way you're living right now, are you waking up every single day and hitting that snooze button? Are you screen sucking every single day, watching porn, drinking, smoking, gambling, entertainment addicted every single day, overeating, all these different things? If you have all these unhealthy habits that you got going on in your life right now, what makes you think you deserve that woman that you're asking God for, right? Maybe you want this certain level of financial success, but every single weekend you're out at the bars, you're doing this, you're spending your money here, you're spending your money there. Well, how do you think you're going to get there? We have to shed old habits. We have to be the man. We have to be the men that we envision ourselves to be, that we want to be. And it requires picking up the habits of those types of men. So that's why I said you have to. So if you're in a situation where you're married and you have a family, let me ask you this. That's what I said. Am I responding? If you get into an issue where you're engaging in a tough conversation, maybe with your wife, maybe with your kids are frustrated, whatever's going on, I want you to take the time to pause for 3 seconds and hold that deep breath for a second. Take that deep breath, right? I know it's pretty cliche to say, but I'm being honest. And just ask yourself, am entering this situation, am I responding from my past trauma, or am I being the leader I want to be right now? And only you can be accountable with yourself when it comes to that. Only you can do that. So unfortunately, I don't see a lot of comments tonight, but that's okay. We're still going to navigate. We're getting better every week. It's all right. I feel like a lot of times I get comments after the stream can be done. Let's see. But guys, ultimately, that's what I want to leave you with here tonight. What are we really doing if we're not healing ourselves? How can we expect to be the men that we want to be? How can we expect that, right? So that's what I want to leave you with there. Ask if you're responding from that past trauma or you're responding as the leader that you want to be. It all starts there. With that being said, guys, I really personally had a personal connection to this one because there were things internally of myself that I had to change, different habits. I don't consider myself a bad man by any means. I consider myself a good man, but there were habits that I had to eliminate from my life. And we're still growing. We're still always learning. In order to become the man that I have become and the man that I'm continuing to become and where God's calling me. Fellas, if you're ever going through a tough time and you're struggling with something when it comes to this, reach out to me. Talk to me. Let's have a conversation. Maybe we don't have time to sit down and grab a cup of coffee in person. But maybe we have time to hop on a Zoom call. Maybe we have time to hop on a FaceTime. Maybe we have time to hop on just a quick phone call. Whatever it is. Seriously, guys. I think brotherhood, it should be iron sharpens iron. And we want to be around like-minded people. And if you don't have those people in your circle, you're struggling, whatever you're going through, reach out to me. And even if I'm not available right away, I will get back to you. Just want to say peace and love, guys. Like I said, average is the enemy. Success is your responsibility. Change can happen quicker than you think. Hope you guys like the new intro. Like I said, stay tuned. After hours, another episode next week. I'm working on putting in the pipeline people behind the guests that I have in, so that way we don't have to postpone. I really don't like postponing any of the episodes, guys. But prepare for that next week, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hope to have a nice sized panel, men and women. I'm excited for it. We got some great things coming towards the end of this for the rest of August as we navigate and into September. Take care, guys. Have a great night. Also, I haven't talked about this yet. I know we haven't done sports episodes, but we'll probably have a pop-up episode sometime, maybe on a weekend or maybe sometime during the week on LeBron coming to Philly. Excited for what the Sixers are doing. We haven't talked a lot of sports. Eagles are coming up, so we're going to have some sports episodes that we're going to sprinkle in here too. Have a great night, a great weekend, guys. Hope you're enjoying your summer. Take care. And remember, stay locked in.